From Columbia in high definition, this is WIS News 10 Awareness.
Thank you for joining us for Awareness. I'm your host, Megan Norman. I am my brother's keeper. It's not a new concept. Its origin dates back to the Bible with Cain and Abel. The idea, we're all responsible for each other. Earlier this year, President Barack Obama charged Americans with a new initiative under this name. The focus, to empower young minority boys, specifically African Americans, to put them on a path to success. During the announcement, the president invited a Chicago youth group where one man spoke of the adversity he faces and the promise he now sees.
Meeting the president and having him tell me that my life now is not different from the way his was made me realize I have potential too.
A profound revelation, but sadly one many children do not have. Many do not because they cannot see success within their grasp. Joining us this morning is Tommy Preston Jr., an attorney with Nexon Pruitt, who is also one of the national partners in the My Brother's Keeper initiative. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
No, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Now, you were in D.C. during this announcement back in February, correct?
That's correct.
Now, why were you asked to be a part of this?
Well, I was there in my capacity as the national president of the Bill and Melinda Gates Scholars Alumni Association. For the event, the president decided to bring in individuals from different potential national partners to hear about the program, to learn about what his goals were in the program, but also to get people fired up, and I was definitely fired up when I left there.
And why is that? What do you think you can add to this initiative?
Well, as I was sitting there listening to the president give the speech and the clip that you just showed, and the young man is speaking about his interaction with the president, I remember sitting there thinking to myself that never before in our nation's history had a president given a speech like that in the White House. And the thought that this is a person who, much like those young men behind him, grew up in a single-family home, had much adversity and was able to overcome those obstacles to achieve the highest position of the land. And there are opportunities for us as Americans to really come together to help a group of individuals or a demographic in our nation's population that's been disadvantaged for generations.
Right, and the president talked about the reason he was able to achieve this powerful position is because he had people in his life who were encouraging him and who were uplifting him.
Absolutely, and that's key. I mean, I think it starts with the family. I think it in church, your schools and our communities really coming together to show these young men that there are folks who care about them and want to make sure that they succeed. Well,
let's listen to a soundbite from the president, a little bit about why he started this initiative.
As a black student, you are far less likely than a white student to be able to read proficiently by the time you are in 4th grade. By the time you reach high school, you're far more likely to have been suspended or expelled. There's a higher chance you end up in the criminal justice system, and a far higher chance that you are the victim of a violent crime. Fewer young black and Latino men participate in the labor force compared to young white men. And all of this translates into higher unemployment rates and poverty rates as adults. And this is an issue of national importance. It's as important as any issue that I work on. It's an issue that goes to the very heart of why I ran for president. Because if America stands for anything, it stands for the idea of opportunity for everybody. The notion that no matter who you are or where you came from or the circumstances into which you are born, if you work hard, if you take responsibility, then you can make it.
You know, one thing I find pretty interesting about his comment there is that it is a nationwide issue. It's not just a black issue, because it affects the whole. If one segment of the population isn't succeeding or they're disadvantaged, then it impacts everybody.
Absolutely,
right?
And that moment right there is when I mean, tears welled up in my eyes, because I think that resonates with everyone. And when I was sitting in the room, you saw the business leaders in the room and the politicians and the community interest groups all shaking their heads, because I think they recognize the importance of what he was saying there. Additionally, though, I loved how he talked about personal responsibility and the responsibility of our communities and our nation as a whole to really come together to solve some of these problems. And I think that that's going to be the key to the success of My Brother's Keeper nationally or even here in Columbia, is making sure that all of our community members are coming together to help.
So how do we put this into practice? Where's the action behind this initiative?
So we've already seen some of this happen in Columbia. Last week, for example, on the Black Expo hosted a Black Male Summit that really brought together some community groups to really start a dialogue about some of the problems that exist. I know that the city of Columbia, some business leaders in Columbia, the University of South Carolina, and some of the other institutions are starting that dialogue. So I think that's important. That people start talking about the issue, and I think that's what the president was trying to do in February, was create that dialogue. From there, I think we really need to think about what specifically can be done to address some of these problems. Everyone has to have some skin in the game.
Right.
Everyone has to play a role, and each of the groups that are going to participate, we got to figure out what each group is going to do,
right,
how they're going to participate, and how all of these groups are going to collaborate and work together.
Is there a timetable for the implementation?
Well, I think for nationally, it's happening right now. The White House is doing sort of the investigative period where they're listening to groups, looking at best practices, to put some best practices out to the public to use in communities around the country. What I like about what's happening in Columbia is we're doing that already.
Right.
We're doing our own part and not waiting for the White House to release their findings. So what we're doing now is sort of being proactive about this issue and really starting to figure out what specifically needs to be done and what we can do realistically.
Well, and one of the problems the president noted is the literacy rate. And so obviously I can assume that would be one component of this program.
Absolutely. That was the one key thing that he said in his speech, is that all of the issues related to high school graduation, to college enrollment, to employment issues, unless we address the literacy issues on the back end, none of those issues are going to be addressed. And I think we have, for example, a program that I started as a student at the University of South Carolina, Cocky's Reading Express, that has been working on this issue for the last 8 or 9 years, going out into communities around South Carolina, providing books to children who don't have books in their homes, and promoting the importance of literacy. So there are those programs out there. I think it's key for us to make sure that we put such an emphasis on that early on, particularly when those kids are in their first few years of life. One of the statistics that the president mentioned is 86% of African American males are not proficient in literacy by the fourth grade. I mean, it's
reality.
Unbelievable.
Well, and he talked about putting books into the home, and the home is a big component because that's where it starts. You know, the president talked about growing up without a father. The youth who spoke talked about growing up without a father. So why is the home one of the best starting places? Well,
it's the family dynamic is the only thing that's going to break the cycle. What you're seeing is a young African American male, for example, who grew up in a single family home, is going through some of the same stages that his father went through and his grandfather went through. And I think empowering our young men to take responsibility, to get an education, get a job, to raise a family, and to stay with that family is going to be the only thing to break that cycle and get us to a place where we're not seeing these children growing up in the environments that they're growing up in now.
Right. Tommy Preston, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Still to come on Awareness, a program geared toward helping young African American boys realize their potential, why it's working, and how you can be a part. Welcome back to Awareness. We know it takes a village to help our children succeed. Our next guest is playing his part. JJ Jenkins is the founder of the mentoring program, Another Way, Another Chance. It's an Atlanta-based program that will soon have roots here in Columbia. Thank you, JJ, for joining us this morning.
Ms. Norman, thank you for having me.
Now, this was started a couple years ago in 2012, and why did you see a need to start this program?
Well, Ms. Norman, it sort of got started from the fact that at my church in Atlanta, and I was serving as the coach of the Upward Soccer program, and there were so many single moms who were bringing their sons or nephews or grandsons to the soccer field, and they saw what I was doing with the kids in terms of teaching them how to play soccer, also talking to them, and that sort of grew from that little chance meeting on the field.
Right.
And they just felt that it was something they needed because so many of the young men did not have that male
That role
influence.
model.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So what is the age group you work with?
12 to 17. We typically like that group because that's right at the cusp of helping them make better decisions. At a certain point, as we know, young people turn you off. So, but we believe between the ages of 12 to 17, they're more receptive to hearing information and receiving information.
Now, how is your mentoring program structured?
It's actually structured in two segments. We have what we call life skill sessions and life skill coaching. The life skill sessions, Ms. Norman, that's when we sit down in a group setting with the young men and we talk about issues that are germane to a young man. For example, violence is not the answer. The do's and don'ts of dating, sexual education, peer pressure, why you're acting up and acting out. We also talk about dressing for success. So there's about 15, 16 different sessions or subjects that we cover when we're sitting down in those group sessions. The sessions are private, so we want the young men to open up and really talk about their feelings. And the other component is the life skill coaching. With that, we actually go out and we do community service. We go out and we feed the homeless, we prepare food for the homeless, we go to shelters to help out any way that we can. And also, part of that life skill coaching, we also take out the young men to places of cultural enrichment. So we'll take them out to a college campus, because a lot of these young men have never
Never set foot. Or even have the goals or dreams of attending.
Absolutely correct. And even from the standpoint of even going to a museum or going to some place where it's different. It was kind of shocking. We took a couple of young men out to a restaurant just to give them an example of proper table manners, etiquette, and what have you. Ms. Norman, we actually had a young man, we went to a steakhouse. He actually picked up the steak with his hands because he had no idea how to use a knife and fork knife. So again, that's one of our sessions. We sit down, we actually have the young men prepare a table and understand what knife to pick up, what spoon to pick up, what glass to use, so it's very important.
Things that some of us may think are just simple and just routine are foreign to many of these children.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then given the structure of where they're coming from, the home environment. As I said, nowadays these kids, so I call them screenagers. Everything they learn is off of the screen. And so, you know, when you're left to your own devices, no pun intended, they have no exposure to things that we take for granted, like setting a table or learning how to tie a tie or how to address a woman in public.
Right. The interaction is key and is crucial. Now, how often do you meet with the kids?
We meet with the kids every day. Typically,
every single day?
Every single day. We actually have different groups coming every day, but on Saturdays and Sundays, we all come together as a group and we do community service. So it gives them a chance to sort of interact with different members.
Well, you know, and whenever we talk about mentoring, it's such a big component and very important in our society, but it's the consistency that tends to make the difference, right? So when you're there all the time with these kids, showing them that you care, that there is a better way.
Yes.
Are you finding results?
We are finding results. Actually, it was very interesting that we found that, first of all, in the program, we have so many young men who, after they complete it, they resign because they enjoy the program, number one. And number two, we're not one and done. So once a young man comes into the program, he's assigned a mentor for life. He has our cell phone number. He can call anytime. But to your point, mentoring is about consistency. It's about accessibility, and that's what these young men are looking for.
Now, what is the role of the family, of the parents? Are they involved in this? Is there even a special session for them?
There is. Typically what happens when a young man comes into the program, we like to sit down with the parents to get an idea what are the issues right now with this young man. Some of the young men have so much pent-up anger and hostility towards society, so we'll sit down with the parents, and sometimes the parents need a little help themselves, but we do get to the root of the issue.
Now, are the kids receptive to this? I mean, are you actually seeing them exhibit some of these newly learned life skills in life, in public?
I have to give you a couple examples. I actually had a young man, one of our sessions was violence is not the answer, and they were playing basketball on a Sunday morning, and they got into a confrontation with some other kids. I received a phone call while I was at church inside the sanctuary. It was one of my mentees. I said, look, I got to take this call because I wasn't sure what was going on. Stepped outside, make a long story short, the young man says, Mr. JJ, you know, these other kids wanted to get into a fight with us, and I remember what you told us. Violence is not the answer. fighting is not going to resolve everything, so they've learned from that. And then also, Ms. Norman, we actually had some young men who have gotten a greater appreciation of life when I've gone out and helped the homeless. And they said, wait a minute, you know what? This could be me.
Right.
But, you know, I'm blessed to have what I have.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I know the program is soon to come to Columbia, and we will put the contact information on our Facebook page for our viewers.
Super. Great. Thank you very much.
Yes. Keeping children engaged when school is out. An annual weekend event in Sumter is back. More on the Boys and Girls Youth Conference when awareness returns. Welcome back to Awareness. When children grow up in a negative environment, they're more likely to see negative outcomes without the right help. Help happens in the community. One law enforcement agency is trying to do its part this summer with the Boys and Girls Youth Conference. Joining us now is Lieutenant Patrina Wiley with the Sumter County Sheriff's Office and Promise Brooks. Thank you both for being with us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, this program has been happening for several years in Sumter, correct?
Exactly. The Boys to Men's Conference actually has been 8 years now, and the Girls to Women has been 6.
Now, what are some of the topics that you address in this two-day event?
Well, it varies. For the last few years, we have had some that have been redundant, but under the circumstances of our society today, that's the reason why we do it. But it's been financing, targeting savings. We've had various workshops on hygiene. We've had technology, mannerisms, anything that you can think of for the positive
Medical
transition.
profession.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. We have that also.
That's great. Now, Promise, you have been a part of this program for several years in a row.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you keep being a part of it?
Because it has a very positive impact on such a young woman as I am. And I just love going because you have older ladies that's teaching you how to be a lady and how to grow up. And also, you know, we have fun things. We also do fun things. I know last year we went to Orangeburg, to the water park, but we also went to the museum and we seen different things. And it's a learning experience and it helps you in life, period.
Now, you are now a junior in high school.
Yes, ma'am.
Lakewood High School in Sumter. Do you feel like this program is helping to prepare you beyond high school?
Yes, ma'am, because from the program, when I went to high school, I joined many clubs because of the program, because it taught you how to, you know, experience different things. And I joined different clubs, and, you know, within the clubs, through this program, it gave me confidence to go compete and, you know, different things of that nature.
Great.
Yes.
So it's increased your ambition, we could say.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many children take part in this event?
Well, it ranges. Last year we had a total of 182, including the boys and the girls. But it ranges from about 120 to 150 per year.
Okay. Now, are the boys and girls separate, or do they do any activities together? Or?
They are separate.
Okay.
But this year we're doing something a little differently. We're actually having the Boys to Men's Conference and the Girls to Women's Conference actually on the same weekend.
Okay.
Of course, they're going to be housed at different locations because it's an overnight stay. The females will be housed at Crestwood High School, 2000 Oswego Highway.
Excited about that.
Yes. And the boys will be housed at Chestnut, that is located at 1200 Oswego Highway. They're about a mile apart.
And what do you think the importance is of keeping them separate, especially in terms of some of these different seminars that you're having?
Well, when it comes to the seminars, you have to consider what type of workshops you're presenting. That's very important. When it comes, of course, to the overnight stay, it gives you an opportunity to actually have a one-on-one interaction with the young males and females that we have participating in the program, and I find it very rewarding when they can have that time with us because they see us in a different perspective, and when they come out, they're much more comfortable with asking various questions when they are amongst their own gender.
Sure. Now, sometimes when we have these programs that are hosted by or sponsored by law enforcement, sometimes that can bring up a negative connotation to some people, and some think, oh, it's just for at-risk youth.
And it's not.
Okay, so what is the demographic? Who are you trying to pull into this program?
Anyone who wishes to participate. We have, with registration and participation, the ages of 10 to 18 years of age if you are in school. And when it comes to the participation, it's anyone who wishes to be involved, because we know that when it comes to our youth, you have to take advantage of these opportunities. And for them to come out and be with law enforcement on a weekend, even though mom and dad are making them come out to participate, you take advantage of the opportunity. And I know it's rather cliche, but a lot of people say, you know, the children are our future, but they are. They literally are. And that's why we are out here trying to teach them so that in the future, they can then, of course, teach others.
Right.
And so any opportunity that the Sumter County Sheriff's Office receive, we take advantage of.
Great. Now, when is the conference? So
It's going to
knows?
be June the 13th and 14th. Registration will begin at 6:30 in the morning until 7:30, and we will have late registration.
Okay. And does it cost anything?
Yes, ma'am. There's a registration fee of $25.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being with us this morning for such a great, worthwhile program.
Thank you.
We will have the registration information on our Facebook page. We'll be right back with a final thought. We know the statistics and the stereotypes. Black children can often be set at a higher disadvantage to fail. But that does not have to be a reality. You do not have to be a mirror image of a negative environment. You do not have to relegate yourself to believing you are only as good as the block you grew up on. We all have struggles, trials, and failures along the way, but you can use those, turn them around for the better, as long as you do not give up and as long as you have someone to encourage and to uplift you. For when one succeeds, we all succeed. We'd like to thank all of our guests this morning, Tommy Preston Jr., J.J. Jenkins, Lieutenant Patrina Wiley, and Promise Brooks. Until next time, I'm Megan Norman. This is Awareness.